Hare Krishna Ji, thank you. And I would like to thank all the devotees present here again for welcoming me back to come and serve all of you in this via this medium, and also to serve the whole Vaishnava community. I must say, also thank you to Kirtida Sundari Mataji for encouraging me actually to speak today, because I must say that I'm not at all qualified to speak on this subject matter, which we will dwell in a while, because it's a very deep subject matter. I mean, all of you have already read through this Caitanya Caritamrita, and you're on the last chapter now of the Antya Lila, and you'll already know how deep the subject matter is. And I'm pretty sure that I'm not qualified to speak on such a subject matter, because I mentioned this to my spiritual master, and he said that, ooh, that's a tough one. I would not touch that subject. He meant it in a way that it's so deep that to approach it just without guidance would be wrong to do. So I had a shloka from Prabodhananda Saraswati, which kind of settles with my situation right now. It goes like this. It says, Drishtam na shastram guravo na prashta vivechitam napi buddhai swabuddhya yata tatha jalpatu balabhavat tathapi me gaura hari prasidatu. He's exclaiming, he's saying that Drishtam na shastram, I haven't seen the shastras, and Guravo na prashta, neither have I inquired much from my spiritual masters. Vivechitam napi buddhai, neither have I had discourses with many intelligent people. Rather, swabuddhya, I'm using my own intelligence, and yata tatha jalpatu balabhavat, I am speaking somehow or the other like a child speaks in a childish manner, but just with one desire in my heart, is that tatapi me gaura hari prasidatu, that may I please Gauranga Mahaprabhu by these childish attempts of mine. So today, I also pray that may I please Gauranga Mahaprabhu by these childish attempts of mine. And in order to please Gauranga Mahaprabhu, I have to please my spiritual master. And to please my spiritual master, I have to please the devotees. So by pleasing all of you today, hopefully I can please this disciplic succession all the way to the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So this difficult task that we have taken up today, it will become very easy by remembering him. It says, Kathanchana smrute yasmin, dushkaram sukaram bhavet, vismrite viparitam syat Sri Chaitanyam namahamitam. That if one simply remembers Sri Chaitanya, the difficult task becomes an easy task. And if he forgets Mahaprabhu, even an easy task becomes impossible. So hopefully I can continue to meditate on him throughout the seminar and after, so that such tasks, if they ever come forward, they will be taken care of by his mercy, by ease. So I would like to start with the Mangala Charnam. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahamayam Dadapi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratashe Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So now that we have invoked auspiciousness, let's dive into Caitanya Caritamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 19. Title of this chapter is The Inconceivable Behavior of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. I can assure you one thing, this inconceivable behavior will still remain inconceivable because with our attempts, it's very difficult to understand this mood of Mahaprabhu because it's so deep. It's so deep. But we might be able to scratch the surface. And even to scratch the surface, it's only possible by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. It is said in the Caitanya Caritamrita that Ishvarera kripalesha hayata yahare seita Ishvara tattva jani bare bare, that only by the mercy of Ishvara, of Krishna, of Mahaprabhu himself, are we able to understand the tattva of the Lord, the truth of the Lord. Maybe not in entirety, but as much as we can, those things will leave a mark in our hearts. That's enough to take us back to his lotus feet. So let's dive in. Today we will be touching on the first shloka. It's the Mangalacharanam shloka, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami himself. So the shloka is as follows. Vande tam Krishna Chaitanyam Matra Bhakta Shiromanim Pralapya Mukha Sangharshi Madudyane Lalasayah. Translation. Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the most exalted of all devotees of mothers, spoke like a madman and rubbed his face against the walls. Overwhelmed by emotions of ecstatic love, he would sometimes enter the Jagannath Vallabha garden to perform his pastimes. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. So we can see that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, throughout the Caitanya Caritamrita, very eloquently in his Mangalacharanam verse describes what's going to happen in the rest of the chapter. My spiritual master oftentimes says that eloquence is truth spoken concisely. So these shlokas, they're like jewels, giving us the entire gist of the chapter. So in this specific shloka, the Mangalacharanam verse, he has mentioned three different aspects of Mahaprabhu's characteristics. First aspect is Matra Bhakta Shiromani, that he is the Shiromani or the crest jewel of Matra Bhakta, the devotees of mothers. The second quality or characteristic is Pralapya Mukha Sangharshi, that Pralapya means like a madman, Mukha Sangharshi. He is causing trouble or like disturbances to his face. And the last one is Madhudyane Lalasayaha. Madhu means sweet. Udyane means a garden. And Lalasayaha means he's enjoying in these gardens. So I would like to give a gist today of how this chapter proceeds. And we'll try to maybe, by the mercy of Mahaprabhu and the devotees, hopefully understand a little bit more about Mahaprabhu's mood. So the first quality, like we discussed, was Matra Bhakta Shiromani. It is explained in this chapter that Mahaprabhu was very attached to his mother, Saci Mata, so much so that he would oftentimes send gifts or reciprocation through Jagadananda Pandit to Nadia and to his mother. He would send gifts of cloth of Jagannath, or he would send Mahaprasadam of Jagannath. And we could kind of question ourselves that uh, why is a sannyasi sending gifts for his mother? Normally we see that a sannyasi in this world is very renounced. He's very aloof. He's completely disconnected, no material ties. So why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's being a sannyasi, to show us this path of bhakti? Why is he reciprocating with his mother in such a way? And what to speak of sannyasis? Sometimes even in our movement, we quote the shloka to kind of renounce ourselves of any material ties that are. This is just an introspection, not very specific to Saci Mata, but just in our lives, how to relate to this. That we kind of tend to disconnect from material relationships or bondage. We tend to quote that shloka of Narada Muni, where he says, Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitranam na kinkaro nayam rini charajan sarvatmanah sharanam sharanyam gato mukunda parihritta kartum. It means that, if we sarvatmanah sharanam sharanyam, if we give everything, our whole being to Krishna, then we aren't indebted to these different personalities. We aren't indebted to the demigods. We aren't indebted to the rishis or the sages. We aren't indebted to the living entities on this planet. We aren't indebted to our friends and family. We aren't indebted to human beings as a species. We aren't indebted to our parents or even our forefathers, because we're watering the root we're watering the root of this tree, which is Krishna. So we kind of dust ourselves off these responsibilities. But Krishna says in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he's speaking to Uddhava, and he mentions that Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata mat katha shravanadava shraddha yava na jayate. That a person, Tavat karmani kurvita, he should continue to perform his karma, his responsibilities, till mat katha shravanadava shraddha yava na jayate, till that person doesn't develop shraddha, complete shraddha, towards the pastimes of the Lord, towards the qualities of the Lord. So it's a question that we have to be honest with ourselves. Have we developed that full shraddha? And if not, we can continue to perform these activities of even interacting with our so-called material relatives, you know? And what to speak of just like material, a person who's not perfected himself. Even a person like Srila Prabhupada, who's a perfected being, he also, after forming ISKCON, he used to sometimes maintain his wife. He would send some Lakshmi to her to maintain her on a daily basis. So we can question that, why would he do that? It's because the heart of a Vaishnava is that he's Suradam Sarvabhutanam. He wants to take care of all living entities, and it might be in different ways, different manners. So these characteristics of the Vaishnavas is not to be misunderstood. And of course, even for us who are conditioned beings, who sometimes aloof ourselves from even our own relatives or friends who are a little bit material, we can understand that we must try to develop that quality of Suradam Sarvabhutanam, that quality of trying to look out for their good too. And we can do that by giving them Krishna consciousness. We give them some prasadam, we to give them a book. These are ways of interacting. We must never cut off our ties with anyone, because we're all brothers and sisters. Krishna says, Aham bija parapita. So we're all brothers and sisters. But this is just for us to understand. Let's go a bit deeper. What to speak of Saci Mata? Mahaprabhu is interacting with Saci Mata, and Saci Mata is such a wonderful devotee of the Lord and his mother. She has taken care of him since he's a little child. And Saci Mata has herself faced so many tribulations in her life. We all know that she had 8 children who died as soon as they were born. So she's felt so much pain in her life. And then Vishwarup, her elder son, took sannyas. And his sannyas was such that you can say it's like social suicide. He completely cut off. So she lost her 8 children, plus she lost her elder son. And just after that, after some time, her husband Jagannath Mishra, he also passed away. So can you imagine the difficulty and the remorse that Saci Mata must have felt? It's very hard to imagine. Like for a mother to lose her children, for her mother to lose, or for a wife to lose her support, her husband. It's a very difficult situation to be in. And she had only one, um, like only one person she could resort to, and that was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And she took care of him like anything. Her love and her devotion was like was the crest. She's the crest jewel of lovers towards Mahaprabhu, like a mother. It's Many people say that her personality is actually that of Mother Yashoda, and some people say her personality is that of Devaki. Either or, her personality is so glorious that she loves Krishna, or she loves Mahaprabhu, um, like the best amongst mothers. And there's a description actually of in the Padyavali of how Krishna is missing Mother Yashoda while he's in Dwaraka. It's explained that he's lamenting, he's crying, and he's reminiscing that, oh, when will someone talk to me and chastise me? When will someone make me sit on their lap? And when will someone feed me half-eaten betel nut leaves or tambula? And like that, Krishna is crying for Yashoda, his mother. And similarly, you can imagine his mother must be crying that where is Krishna? When will he come to Vrindavan again? When will I make him sit on my lap? When will I feed him those betel nut leaves? It is said that Mother Yashoda, every day she would decorate the whole house, thinking that Krishna will come today. And at the end of the day, when the sun would set and he would not come, she would just feel so sad and so broken. But then she would go back thinking that he will come tomorrow, and she would repeat the same activity tomorrow, the next day. She would decorate again. So just imagine the same plight of Saci Mata. She's in so much separation. And Mahaprabhu reciprocates with that separation. He's the Lord, after all, and he reciprocates with his devotees in whatever form their love is. And Saci Mata's love being of top quality, being of the topmost form of Vatsalya, is he would definitely reciprocate with her. So it's expressed how he would send these gifts for her and reciprocate with her. So that was the first aspect of this Mangala Charanam, Matra Bhakta Shiromani, that Mahaprabhu is the crest jewel amongst devotees of Mother. In fact, it's also said that because of the promise to Saci Mata, he stayed in Jagannath Puri for all those years. I think it was 23 years. He stayed there. He did not leave because he promised to her, because she said that Jagannath Puri and Navadvip are like 2 rooms in the same house. So whatever happens in one room, she will know in the second room. So in this manner, he followed that instruction. So he's Matra Bhakta Shiromani. Then the next quality I would like to touch is Madhudyane Lalasaya, means the sweet garden in which Mahaprabhu enjoyed. Now, Prabhupada has mentioned in his translation that this garden is the Jagannath Vallabha garden. And further in the chapter, it will be explained how Mahaprabhu went there in the month of Vaishaka on a full moon night. The month of Vaishaka is around April and May. And when he went there, everything reminded him of Vrindavan. When he saw the trees, when he saw the different things that were present there, it reminded him of Vrindavan. It's mentioned how the bees were roaming around in the air. The birds were talking to each other, the Sukha and the Sari birds. He thought that they're talking to each other and they're passing messages of Radha and Krishna. And the breeze, the wind, it was making all the trees move. And it seemed like they were dancing. And it's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami very beautifully writes that the breeze was like the guru of these trees, because he was teaching them how to dance. And so basically on this full moon night, with all of these different things reminding Mahaprabhu of Vrindavan, and the weather, the atmosphere was also springtime, all these favorable conditions, it generated this deep mood of separation from Vrindavan for Mahaprabhu. And he asked his fellow associates, he said, please sing the Gita Govinda for me. I would like to hear it. Sarai Ramananda, Swarup Damodar, they recited these shlokas from the Gita Govinda. And it's explained how Mahaprabhu, by hearing these shlokas, he dived into these shlokas. He was so engrossed, he can visualize these shlokas manifesting. He can see he's trying to find Krishna behind each and every tree, and he's trying to ask the leaves, he's talking to the leaves, he's talking to the birds, he's talking to the bees, that where is this Krishna? And we can take away from this that when we hear and when we read shlokas, we need to dive into these shlokas. Each and every syllable can give us so much nectar, so much nectar. And basically, if we learn this art of somehow diving into the shlokas, then these leelas will naturally manifest because we're reading them and it purifies us. But just imagine to actually experience these shlokas. And it's, of course, a very deep state of bhakti, which I am also aspiring for. But it's so beautiful to read these descriptions and it gives us that goal. So Mahaprabhu, in this manner, he's looking around, trying to find Krishna in this forest, in this garden, looking behind one tree, looking behind another tree. And then all of a sudden, he sees Krishna. He sees Krishna under an Ashoka tree, and he runs towards him. Now, in the Garga Samhita, there's a very beautiful description given of how when Radha and Krishna are together, what do they look like? It said, Yatha tamala kaladhau tuvalya ghane yatha chanchalaya chakashti nilodri rajo nakashashmakhanya Shri Radhayadhyastutaya Ramanya. It's beautifully explained that Yata tamala kaladhau tuvalya, just like a tamala tree, has a golden vine, a golden creeper wrapped around it. And ghane yatha chanchalaya chakashti, and just like a dark bluish black monsoon cloud has lightning coming through it. And nilodri rajo nakashash makhanya, and just like a mountain, nilodri, blue mountain of sapphires, has a mine of gold in it. Similarly, is when Radha and Krishna are together, they look like these particular images. Shri Radhayadhyastutaya Ramanya. They're in a similar manner. So, Mahaprabhu, he's running towards Krishna. And Krishna is standing there beautifully underneath this tree. And that image, these images of the tamala tree and the creeper, the cloud and the lightning, the gold mine on the blue mountain, it's almost going to come true, but Krishna disappears. Krishna disappears. So Mahaprabhu's mood of separation, it heightens, it becomes more deep, it increases, and he spends the whole night looking for Krishna. Krishna comes and then he just leaves all of a sudden. He likes to make the heart of the devotees pound for him. There's a very beautiful description once my Guru Maharaj gave in his class during Prema Sarovar, how we know the description of Srimati Radharani. She was sitting with Krishna, Krishna sitting there, they're having their pastimes. And that time, I think Madhu Mangal, he says that, oh, there was a bee coming at Radharani's face. So Radharani closes her eyes and she tries to get rid of this bee. And Madhu Mangal says, oh, Madhusudan has gone. Madhusudan has gone, meaning the bee has gone. But Krishna's name is also Madhusudan. So Radharani thinks that, oh, because her eyes are closed, she's saying, oh, Madhusudan has gone. Krishna has gone. And she experiences such deep separation from Krishna, although he was sitting right there. And Krishna also experiences such deep separation from Radha because of her emotions, although he was sitting right there. And it is explained that after Krishna left that place later, he was thinking to himself, and he thought that, oh, I've never seen Sri Radha's love like this. Her separation was so profound, and her love was so profound that why should I deprive them of this love? Why should I deprive her of this love? So that's why it is said that later in not such a distant future, Krishna leaves Vrindavan and he goes to Mathura, as we all know. So in a similar way, Krishna came in front of Mahaprabhu and then he just left, he disappeared. And Mahaprabhu waited and he's finding Krishna in this garden, in this Madhudyane. He's finding in the sweet garden, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? So this was one of his pastime in the garden, the Jagannath Vallabha garden. But I kept the middle line, or the middle portion of that shloka for the ending, because it's quite a deep subject matter. It is explained that pralapya mukha sangarshi, that like a madman, he is rubbing his face, he's causing disturbances to his face. And before we dive into what happens and where it happens, actually, I would like to mention where it happens. This whole pastime is taking place in the Gambhira room. You know, we all know that Mahaprabhu used to stay there, and he's experienced some of the most deep, profound moods of separation and the highest experiences of Radha Bhav in this Gambhira room. And this word, Gambhira, it has been explained in the Amar Kosh dictionary. This word, Gambhira, has been broken down into three parts. So it says Gamane is for ga, gum, sorry, the first part. Bhi is the second part. And Ra is the third part, which stands for Rati. So Gamane means when Krishna goes away. Gamane means to move around. So when Krishna goes away, Gamane, Bhi, fear, is demonstrated, Rati. So I'll explain that one more time. Gamane means when Krishna goes away. Great fear, or Bhi, is demonstrated, Rati, by Sri Radha. So that is Gambhira. Gamane, Bhi, Rati. So basically it means that when Krishna goes away, Radharani experiences such intense fear of losing Krishna. So now that we understand the word of Gambhira, we can only guess what Mahaprabhu felt in that room. He felt fear. He felt fear of losing Krishna. It's very different from fear that we feel. And if we take shelter of Krishna, we already know in the Bhagavatam, in the very beginning, it mentioned how Yad Bibheti Swayam Bhayam Apanna Samshritam Goram, that fear personified is scared of the holy name. So this is not material fear, this is transcendental fear of losing Krishna. And Mahaprabhu is experiencing that in this room. So no matter how much ever I try to express this, we wouldn't fully grasp on. We will have a sentimental value towards it, but we wouldn't fully grasp on to this fact that what is Mahaprabhu experiencing in this room. And there's one incident which can give us an understanding of why we wouldn't understand this situation. Rupa Goswami, he composes a shloka glorifying the holy name. He says, Tunde Tandavanim Ratim Vitanute, Tundavali Labdhaye, Karna Kroda Kadambini Ghatayate, Karnarbudebhyas Priham, Chetah Prangana Sangini Vijayate, Sarvendriyanam Kritim, Ko Jane Janita Ki Yad Biramrite, Krishneti Varnadvai. He's very beautifully explaining. It's a very famous shloka. The nectar that resides in these two syllables, Krishna. He says that this Krishna, these syllables, when they come and dance on the tongue, tunde tandavanim, when they're dancing on the tongue, when it's custom that when a dancer comes, we reciprocate with the dancer after the performance. So he's saying it's called avali. So Rupa Goswami is saying that when this dancer of the two syllables, Krishna, comes and dances on my tongue, I want to give him an avali. I want to give him a present of many more tongues to dance on. Tundavali labdaye. And karna kroda kadambini ghatete. When it enters the eardrums, when it enters the holes of my ears, when it enters the holes of my ears, it expands like the kadambini shock. Now, the Kadambini shock is something very, very interesting. I suggest all of you Google water spinach. It's called water spinach. When you see the images in Google, the water spinach, it grows very densely. There's no space between one sap and another sap. It's very tight, and nothing else can grow amongst it. So Rupa Goswami is saying that when this holy name is entering my ear, it's like the Kadambini shock. It's like this water spinach. It completely takes up every inch of space. Just you can imagine, what is he experiencing? That nothing, no external sounds or no external things can enter his ear because the holy name has completely occupied his ears. So Kadambini Ghatayate Karnarbudebhyas Priyam. I desire many more ears because it's so nectarian. And he says that Chetaha Prangana Sangini Vijayate Sarvendriyanam Kritim. That when those syllables enter the heart and they're dancing there, and when they unite together, they Vijayate, they win over all our senses. And he says that what is the nectar lying in these two syllables, Krishna? So when he recited, the point I was trying to explain why I'm saying this is that when he recited this shloka, this padya, all the devotees appreciated it, but they did not know the full extent of it. So it wasn't like a massive uproar of appreciation. But Haridas Thakur, he jumped up and he started dancing, Jai Ho, Sadhu, Sadhu, beautiful. And it's understood that a person like Haridas Thakur, who has experienced these same very emotions that Rupa Goswami experienced, he could appreciate in reality what that shloka meant. And that's why he jumped up and started dancing. So my point being that this mood of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu in the Gambhira, we will appreciate it. We will aspire for a drop of that mood, maybe, because it's so deep. I don't know if we're qualified, but we aspire for it. But it's very difficult to know it in entirety. But anyhow, we will try today to at least see a little bit of what Mahaprabhu's mood was. Because we all know that he was experiencing deep Radha Bhav, or deep mood, the deep mood of Srimati Radharani. It is explained in the start of the Caitanya Caritamrita that Radha Bhava Dutisavalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam, that he took the Radha Bhav and her kanti, or her effulgence, and he appeared to experience these things. But now that we've come towards Antya Lila, you must have oftentimes seen that he's also expressing the mood of Krishna sometimes. Sometimes he's expressed and shown his Shadabhuj form. Sometimes he's shown his form as Vamsidhar Gauranga, as Krishna, as Gauranga with the flute, basically Krishna. So does that mean that he doesn't have the mood of Radha that time? No. And there's an analogy given of what happens to the mood of Radha. So the Radha Bhav is explained like a moon. And just like a moon rises, and in the middle of the night, it's completely above our heads, and then it settles down again. Similarly, similarly, Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood of Radha Bhav, it rises sometimes, and it's at its peak sometimes, and sometimes it sets. But just because it's setting does not mean that it's not present. We won't say that the moon does not exist anymore because I can't see it. The moon still exists. It's just not in our sight. So similarly, this mood of Radha Bhav, it still exists in Mahaprabhu, but it's just taking its time to come back. And we see that in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu is actually experiencing the full moon of Sri Radha's bhav, Radha's mood. And in this mood, he's calling out. In this mood, he's doing things that he's doing in this Gambhira room. He's calling out to Krishna. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? In the following verses, you'll will see it's explained. He's crying. He's saying, Kwanandra kula chandrama koshiki chandra kalankriti Kwamandra murali rava kwanu surendra niladyuti Kwara sarasatandavi kwasaki jiva rakshaushadhi Nidhir mama surittama kwabata hanta hadigvidim. He's crying and he's asking, Kwanandra kula chandrama, where is the moon of the dynasty of Nanda Maharaj? Koshiki Chandra Kalankriti. Where is that boy who's beautifully ornamenting the peacock feather on his head? Komandra Murali Rava. Where is that boy who's intoxicating us with the flute playing? Beautiful flute playing. Komandra Murali Rava Kwanasurendra Niladduti. Where is that boy who's shining like the Indra Nila stone, the blue sapphire? Kwarasara Satandavi. Where is that boy who's a beautiful dancer in the Rasa Lila? And he's performing tandav, not the tandav which Lord Shiva performs. This tandav is causing disturbance in their senses and making them perplexed because they're losing all of their composure and they're just their prema is just emerging. So that kind of tandav, this tandav is not destructive. It's uprooting these beautiful, it's not uprooting, it's creating these beautiful desires of prema towards Krishna. So kwarasa rasatandavi, kosaki jiva rakshaushadi. Where, oh my friend, he's talking to Sarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, who are like Lalita and Vishaka, and he's calling them, oh Saki, kosaki jiva rakshaushadi. He is the one who's saving my life. And Nidhir Mama, he is my treasure. Surittama Kwabata Hantaha Dhigvidim. He's cursing providence. He's cursing destiny that he's taking Krishna away from me, this treasure of his life. So in this way, Mahaprabhu is lamenting. And he's lamenting and he's performing activities like hurting his own face. How do we understand this situation? We know that one of the stages of viraha or separation is destruction. It's causing hurt to oneself unknowingly. And there's a shloka in the Padyavali which can give us an understanding of how how it might happen. It's explained. Gokulasya tu ya shobha dhanya madhupure gata asmakam hridayam yatra gokulam vyakulayate. It's explained that the residents and the gopis of Vrindavan are telling Krishna that Gokulasya tu ya shobha, you are the glory of Gokula, this village Gokula. And Dhanya, all glories to Mathura, because you're going there today. You're going to Mathura. And asmakam hridayam yatra gokulam vyakulayate. And now that you have left our hearts and gone empty, double meaning in the shloka. It is expressed
Prabhuji, we can't hear you clearly.
means the network of our senses. Oh, we can't hear.
Now it's fine, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, what was the last thing that I was saying? If somebody could mention, please.
Can you repeat that, Prabhu? The last few sentences, please. Thank you.
You were talking
Okay,
about that shloka, so it was frozen for a moment, not too much.
Okay. Thank you. I was mentioning a shloka from the Padavali. Why basically explaining the emotions of the Brajavasis and the Gopis. They're saying that Gokulasya tuya shobha tanya madhupure gata asmakam hridayam yatra gokulam vyakulayate. Meaning that Gokulasya tuya shobha, the Gopis are telling Krishna that, oh Krishna, you are the glory of Gokul. And Dhanya Madhupure Gata, all glories to Mathura, that you're going there today. But Asmakam Hridayam Yatra Gokulam Vyakulayate. Now that you're leaving our hearts, this Gokula, this place, this village of Gokul is feeling very vyakul. It's feeling very perplexed or very disturbed, very empty. So this word Gokula has two meanings in the shloka. One is the place Gokula, and another is Go-kula. Go means senses, and kula means the network. So they're trying to say that now that you've left our hearts, this Go-kula, or the network of our senses, are feeling perplexed and feeling disturbed. So it can give us an understanding that when the Brijabasis, especially the Gopis, feel the separation from Krishna, their senses lose control. Their senses are completely disturbed and they don't know what's happening. So in such a state, you can imagine Mahaprabhu is trying to get out of this room, trying to find Krishna, but he just tends to scratch his face. He doesn't know what he must do. What is his way to find Krishna? So this was one understanding. And it is explained in the Caitanya Caritamrita that this mood of Radha Bhav that Mahaprabhu possesses, it's like that when Uddhava had visited Vrindavan. It is said, Radhikara cheshtayana Uddhava darshane ei mata dasha prabhura hayaratri dine. That Radhikara cheshtayana, just like Radhika, Srimati Radharani's behavior was when Uddhava came to Vrindavan. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always lamenting in the same mood, day and night, day and night. And there's a very beautiful bhajan that I would like to share with all of you today. It's mentioned by His Grace, His Holiness, Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And nobody knows the source of this bhajan, but it so beautifully in Bengali expresses what Radhika Srimati Radharani was feeling. So before I mention that, I would just like to give some context. So Uddhava has come to Vrindavan. He sees all the gopis and he sees that they're not the way Krishna described them. You know, Krishna said that they're Sarva Lakshmi Mai. They're all the Lakshmis together are situated in just one gopi, you know. And they didn't look like that. Their skin was completely dried. Their bodies were like shrunk, and their lips were dry. Faces are dry, And he said, where is that beauty gone that Krishna was talking about? And while he was seeing things like that, he saw this river or stream coming down from this one place, this one kunja. So he followed this stream, and he saw it's emerging from the eyes of this one gopi, this one mysterious gopi. And this gopi was surrounded by 8 friends of hers. And then he saw that this gopi began to express herself in a particular way, which has been so beautifully mentioned in this bhajan. So I'll recite this full bhajan first. It's very short, and then I'll explain it. Jamuna tatini khule, keli kodam beramule, moraloy chalalo tvaraya. Anti mera bandhu hai, Jamuna murti kala, Sakhi mora lipa sarvagaya. Shama nama tadupari, Lekha sabha sahachari, Tulasi man jari diyotaya. Amare bestana kari, Bala sabha hari hari. Amare bestana kari, Bala sabha hari hari. Jakhana pa rana bahiraya. So it's beautifully explained that Radharani is saying, Jamuna tatini kule, that by the shore of Jamuna, and Keli kadambera mule, and that kadamba tree, where we've performed so many pastimes, moraloy chalalo tvaraya. Oh my Sakhis, please take me there. Because Anti mera bandhu hoy, they are my friends at the time when I'm going to leave my body. Because they've been with me all my life. So many pastimes I've spent with them. So many beautiful memories and moments that at the time when I'm leaving, I want to be with them, with Jamuna and that Kadamba tree. And she's requesting that please, Jamuna Murti Kaloy, please bring some mud from the Jamuna. And Sakhi Mora Lipa Sarvagaya, please apply it on all of my body and my limbs. And then she says, Shama Nama Tadupari, that you write the name of Shama on this mud that you have applied. And Tulasi Manjari Dihataya. She's saying that please put a tulsi leaf to each name of Sham that you've written. We need to understand this tattva, that Abhinnatvam Nama Namina. The name of Krishna and Krishna, there's no difference. So Radharani, who is our Param Guru, she's practicing the same principle. You know, she asked them, please put Tulasi on each name. And then she's saying to her friends that Amare bestana kari, please sit down by my side. And Bole Sabha Hari Hari, please chant Hari Hari by my side. And in that moment, Jakhana Parana Bahiraya, my life airs will come out. So Radharani, or this mysterious gopi, is praying like that, or is requesting, is expressing herself like that. And Uddhava, he saw this and he said, that can only be Srimati Radharani. That cannot be anybody else. Because Krishna has mentioned her mood. And that's her. So we need to understand that Srimati Radharani is experiencing these deep moods of separation. Deep moods of separation. And I think it's very safe to say that the love a person experiences in separation is way more deep than love in union. Rupa Goswami, in his Ujjvala Nilamani, he says, people, if somebody asks him, what would you choose? Love? What would you choose? Union or separation? So he says, Sangama viraha vikalpe, varamiha viraho na sangamastasya, sange saiva tathaika, tribhuvanam api tanmayam virahe. So he's explaining very beautifully. He says, Sangama viraha, between Sangama, union, and viraha, separation. If I have a choice, vikalpe, varamiha viraho, I will choose viraha, separation. Na sangamas, no, I won't choose union. And then he gives a reason why. He says, Sange sa eva tata eka, that in union, there is only one Krishna in front of me. Whereas in separation, Tribhuvanamapi tanmayam virahe. Tribhuvana, this all the three worlds are filled, tanmayam. It's filled with Krishna. Now let's understand this word tanmayam. We hear the word rasamai, filled of rasa. And an example is given of the rasagola. It's so much filled with rasa that when it's in the pot, it's surrounded by rasa. It's in an ocean of rasa, so to speak. When you put it in your mouth, there's so much rasa. If you break it, both the pieces have rasa. And if you squeeze it, also there's rasa. So there's only rasa. It's rasamai, this rasagula. So Rupa Goswami is saying that this world, this Tribhuvan, becomes tanmay. It becomes full of Krishna. So how do we experience this? We also want to experience this separation. And to experience separation, we need to experience the union first. And to do that, we need to follow the straight and narrow path that have been laid out to us by our acharyas and by Caitanya Mahaprabhu. When he got initiation from his guru, he mentions the glory of chanting. He says, Kiba mantra dila gosai, kiba tara bala, japite mantra karila pagala. He's saying, what mantra have you given me, O Gosai? And what is the strength of this mantra? This mantra is making me go pagal, making me go crazy in love of God. That's the potency of this mantra. It can make us go crazy in love of God. And he came especially to show us how to perform this. Krishna, when he came as Krishna, he did not perform bhakti. And it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, yad yad acharati shreshthas tat tat evetaro janaha. Okay, that whatever a great person does, the common men follow. So if we have to follow Krishna's example, well, let's say it would be quite a difficult thing to do. And also there would be some kind of like complications in the world. If we have our Parakiya Rasa and Swakiya Rasa in two different places, I think there will be World War III. So, but Mahaprabhu came to show us how we have to perform bhakti, because Krishna mentioned that we have to perform bhakti, but he did not tell us how. So it's explained in the start of Caitanya Caritamrita that apani karimu bhakta bhava angikare, apani achari bhakti sikhaimu sabare. That he himself took the mood of a devotee of Sri Radha, and by his achar, he started to show us how we must perform bhakti. And he very well mentions that yuga dharma pravartana haya amsha haite amavina anya nare vraja prema dite. That if he has to establish yuga dharma, he can always send his amshas. They can come, they can tell us what it is. He can even send his devotee. He doesn't need to come personally. But he says that this love of God, this bhakti of Vrindavan, Vraja Prema. Only he can give it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's why he came himself, to give us this love of God. So I can say one thing, that we cannot, and we must not imitate these activities that took place in the Gambhira or in the Jagannath Vallabha garden. These are very transcendental pastimes, hopefully, which we might someday realize to some extent by his mercy. But we must follow in his footsteps of chanting the holy name, how he's given us the process of chanting, the process of associating with Vaishnavas, the process of taking prasadam. I remember my Guru Maharaj once asked Shivaram Swami that you've read Caitanya Caritamrita like 5-6 times over, start to end. What is it that stood out for you? So he said, what stood out for me was that people take a lot of prasadam. So prasadam is also so potent. So he's given us all these different things that we can relish. And if we follow that, we won't have to fake these emotions. They will come to us by Krishna's mercy, by Mahaprabhu's mercy. And I would like to conclude by emphasizing on this point of how much we have to take shelter of Mahaprabhu, by mentioning this another bhajan today, just beautifully painting a picture for us of how, if we follow this process, what are the steps we will go through and how we will reach our end goal. So I'll just recite this bhajan and explain it simultaneously. And it's so nectarian. When I read it for the first time, it really puts a layout of how this process is. So it goes like this. First off, it's written by Govinda Das. He came a couple years after Mahaprabhu's departure from this world. And he's mentioned this beautiful bhajan. So, Shri Pada Kamala Sudhara Sapane, Shri Vigraha Guna Gana Karigane, Shri Mukhavachana Shravana Anusangi, Anubhavikata Bhela Prema Tarangi. He's explaining that if someone tries to drink the nectar, Shri Pada Kamala, Sudhara Sapane, if he tries to drink the nectar emerging from the lotus-like feet of Gauranga, and Shri Vigraha Gunagana Karigani, if he sings the gunas, the glories of the form of Gauranga, and Shri Mukhavachana Shravana, if he follows Anusangi, he takes the association of those devotees who are following to the top, to the T, they say, the instructions of Gauranga. By following these three things, Anubhavikata Bhela Prema Tarangi, that person experiences the waves of prema. By these three things. That Shri Pada Kamala, who tries to drink the nectar of the lotus feet of Gauranga, by serving his lotus feet, of course, by spreading his movement far and wide, and Shri Vigraha Gunagana Karigan, and to sing his glories all the time, and to associate with those devotees. These three things will make us experience the waves of prema. And then he goes on to explaining. He says, Re mana kahe karasi anutape, pahum ka pratap mantra karu jape. He says, oh my mind, kahe karasi anutape. Why are you suffering in this place, this worldly fire? Rather, pahum ka pratap mantra karu jape. You just take onto the lotus feet, take onto the mantra, chanting of this holy name, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is so potent. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also very beautifully mentions in the introduction of Navadip Dham Mahatmya. He says, Durabhaga Lakshana ei jane sarvajana, Nija buddhi bada bali karya ganana, Ishwarera kripa nahi karaya svikara, Kutar ke maya re garte pade bara bara. He's saying that durbhaga lakshana. What are the symptoms of misfortune? Please listen. Hey jane sarvajana. Please listen, everybody. That nija buddhi bada bali kariya ganana. If you sing the fact that your intelligence is the most authoritative intelligence, that is durbhaga. That is misfortune. And by such mentality, Ishvarera kripa nahi karaya svikara. They don't accept the mercy of the Lord. And kutar ke maya re garte pade bara bara. And they fall in this world of duplicity, in this world of arguments, kutarka. So terrible. But he gives us this remedy. He says, Esha hai kali rajiva chhada kuti nati nirmala gauranga prema laha paripati. That Esha Kali Jiva, oh, Jivas of the Kali Yuga, Chada Kutinati, just give up this world of duplicity and just accept the Nirmala, the pure Gauranga Prema, and take it in full, Paripati. So even he's explaining in the same way that Pahumka Pratap, Mantra Karujape, just take up the mantra and Yo kichu vichari manorate chadabi pahum ka charana yuga sarati karabi. That make up your mind. Yo kichu vichari. That you are, this is your final destination. That you want to attain the lotus feet of Krishna. And manorate chadabi. In this manner, get on the ratha, the chariot of your mind. Okay? So let's paint this picture. We're taking up to the chanting. We're telling our mind that we want Krishna prema, and we get on this chariot of our mind as well. And who is the Sarathi? Because a chariot needs a Sarathi, a charioteer. So that is Pahumka Charana Yuga Sarathi Karavi. The lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu will be made the Sarathi or the charioteer. And he goes on to explaining Ratharohana Karu Prana Taranga Asha Pasha Jorina Habanga. He says, the 5 life heirs in our body, they will be the horses of this chariot. And the rope controlling these horses so that they don't go in different directions is the Asha, Asha Pasha. The Pasha means rope, Asha means hope. So the rope of hope. So if we have the rope of hope in the lotus feet of Gauranga, who's the charioteer, controlling our life heirs, is so important, hope, in our spiritual life. If we don't have hope, we tend to crumble sometimes, because we want everything fast nowadays. Express delivery, Amazon Prime, everything immediate satisfaction. But we need to be patient in bhakti. So we need asha, we need that hope in our bhakti. So it says that Jori Naha Bhanga, we need this rope of hope, and so that this couple of Mahaprabhu's lotus feet and these horses doesn't break. Because Mahaprabhu will control these horses for us. He's the one guiding us. And where is he guiding us? Lila jaladi tira chalu dhai prema tarange anga avagai. He's saying, he's taking us to the Lila Jaladi, to that ocean where the Leelas of Krishna are happening. And he's going there so fast. Let's go there really quick. So what is this ocean? It's the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, what we're indulging in right now. Shravanam and Kirtanam, it takes us to this ocean of Krishna, where Krishna's pastimes can be discussed, where we can dive in this prema. It's there, it's potent. We just need to dive in it. And he's saying, Prema tarange anga avagai. We immerse ourselves completely in this ocean of prema. Okay, so what's next, Govinda Das? Please tell us. Rasa tarangi sangi haridase rati mani dei purabha abhilashe. We meet so many devotees along the way. And we will, even in this ocean of prema, in this rasa tarangi, the waves of rasa, we will meet Haridase, Sangi Haridase. And these devotees are already there. We've just come, but they're already there. And what do? Ratimani Dei Puraba Bilasha. They bring us the jewel which is deeply hidden in the ocean, deep in the ocean. The Ratimani, the jewel of prema. And that is our highest desire. Prema Pumarto Mahan. Even Mahaprabhu's, that's Mahaprabhu's matam, or his view. So these devotees are like deep makara fishes. It's explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that they dive deep and they bring this Ratimani. It's only by their mercy that we get this Ratimani, because we don't know to swim deep. We have to learn from our guru. We have to learn from the senior Vaishnavas. And then they provide us this Ratimani. And once we experience that Ratimani, when we get this Ratimani, Sorasa jaladi maji mani geha tahi marahu gori sushamera deha. So we experience, we see this house in this ocean, deep in this ocean, made out of jewels. And in this house, jewel-studded house, there's two personalities. One is in a shama color, a dark color, and one is like a golden, splendid color. That's Krishna and Radha. So we see them after attaining this jewel of prema. And it's explained that Sarathilei Milaya Bataya Govinda Dasa Gaura Gunagaya. That the Sarathi, which is the lotus feet of Gauranga, Milaya Bataya, he will make you meet Radha and Krishna. He will make you meet Radha and Krishna. That's why Govinda Das is singing the glories of Gaura. What are the glories of Gaura? He is our connection to Radha and Krishna, our direct connection. It is said in the Gopal Sahasranam that Gaura Tejo Vinayastu Shama Tejo Samarche Japed Vadhyayate Vapi Sabhavet Pataki Shive. That we cannot worship Krishna or the Shama colored complexion without worshipping the Gaura complexion or the golden complexion. So we have to worship Gaura. And we need to understand his path that he has so beautifully laid out for us and given us. And if we follow this path of association with the devotees, chanting, eating prasadam, and expressing his glories, then we will get his mercy. And by his mercy, we will get Srimati Radharani's mercy. Prabhupada Saraswati writes, Yatha yatha gaura padara vinde, vindet bhaktim krita punya rasi, tatha tatha sarpati ridya kasmat radha padam boja sudam rasi. The extent to which one serves Gauranga, to that extent, Srimati Radharani reveals herself. So that is the mercy of Gauranga. And we need to understand that and be grateful towards this mercy that he's given us. And gratitude comes when we personalize things. You know, if I ask one of you the question, like, let's look at Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He wrote this Caitanya Caritamrita in his old age. He wasn't even sure if he would finish it. His hands used to shake. You know, his eyesight was weak. We need to appreciate him right now because we finished reading Antya Lila. You know, he was in a very material body, was completely degraded. But he was so much looking for the benefit of the people. So I ask you this question today. Who did he do this for? Who did he do this for? Most people always say, oh, he did it for all of us. You know, he wrote Caitanya Caritamrita for all of us. Yes, he did. But is that the answer? No. If we express that, no, he took that trouble for me. He wrote Caitanya Caritamrita for me. That level of gratitude expands. It gets personal. It goes deeper. And we need to introspect on this. We need to personalize these things. Bhakti is a very personal process. So these sacrifices that have been made by these great personalities, it's made for me. It's made for you. You have to accept it. And if you accept it, then you value it. And then you perform your activities in gratitude. So that's what I would like to conclude with today. Just an emotion of gratitude, actually, towards these great personalities, towards Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, towards our entire disciplic succession who haven't broken this line. You know, Krishna says, right, that sakale neha mahata yoga nashta parantapa. It's still, it got destroyed then, but it's not destroyed now. We have to make the most of what's coming to us. We really do. So in this mood of gratitude, I would like to conclude and just refresh what we did today. We studied, or we tried to dive into the characteristics of Saci Mata, her glory, of how Mahaprabhu reciprocated with her, and how Mahaprabhu went to the Jagannath Vallabha gardens, how he tried to find Krishna, how Krishna left, but he kept finding him. Then we did Gambhira, Mahaprabhu's mood in Gambhira, what Gambhira means, why he performs these activities in Gambhira, the fact that this chapter will remain inconceivable. And of course, we just tried to scratch a little bit of the mood of Radha that Mahaprabhu possesses. And of course, we concluded with the importance of how we need to hold on to the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if we do that, then we know our destination. We're going to Sri Radha and Sri Krishna in the spiritual world. So saying that, I would like to conclude by saying, Yad atra skalitam kinchid vidvam saha purayantu tad Yad atra shaushthavam kinchid tad guroreva me nahi. Yad atra skalitam kinchid. If you found anything that was wrong, and I'm sure there was so many mistakes in my presentation today, vidvam saha, you are all learned people. Purayantu tad. Please complete my mistakes. But Yad atra shaushthavam kinchid. If you found anything that was nourishing, anything that was a takeaway, even a little syllable, please remember, dear devotees, that Tad Guru, it belongs to my spiritual master. Me nahi, it does not belong to me. Panchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I could make out that it was just your humility that you said that you are not comfortable giving Caitanya Caritamrita classes. And I'm glad that I somehow forced you, and you did awesome. It was such a brilliant class, Prabhuji. It was such a brilliant session. And I like the way you covered the first verse, bifurcated into three, paths like Matra Bhakta, Pralapya, Mukha Sangarshi, and Madhu Dhyana Lalasa. And the way you connected all these three terms to the pastimes of Caitanya Caritamrita was really great. I'm so happy that you accepted our request and you came and you enlightened us, and so many beautiful points you covered. So thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. It was a brilliant class, so worth listening again and again, I should say. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
I must also say, Mataji, that it was your encouragement that pushed me to do this. So like Govinda Das very clearly mentioned, that Rati Mani Dei Puraba Abhilashe, great devotees like yourself, who are so well versed actually in Chaitanya Caritamrita, are giving us this mercy, are giving us the desire to learn more and more about our great Lord. So thank you again, Mataji. Thank you again.
Definitely, I'm nowhere, Prabhu, because I know that it was just out of humility you were saying, but all glories to Gurudev, His Holiness Indradhamma Swami Maharaj, and glories to your Shiksha Guru, who are training you so wonderfully. So we can see the reflection of all those great personalities in you and in your sessions. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming on the call and giving us your very valuable association. The class was beautiful, as Kirtida Sundari Mataji mentioned. I really like the way you discussed the point on Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, how Vaishnavas are actually very compassionate and they treat relationships in such an important manner. Of course, we have rules and regulations, but then we have to keep the higher purpose in mind. And until and unless we treat Vaishnavas and other living entities in a humane and a very nice, considerate way, we're really not Vaishnavas. It was so beautiful the way you brought out these qualities. We are so grateful to you. Thank you so much for coming on the call and making this Caitanya Caritamrita session so beautiful. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Very great.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for your kind words of appreciation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much,
Krishna.
Prabhuji, for such a nectarian class, Prabhuji. We are so grateful to you. You are explaining, you already summarized everything, like the qualities you have, that Matra Bhakti about Saci Mata, and how Mahaprabhu was reciprocated about that, and you, that pastime, I really like that Madhusudan pastime. That was very nice, Prabhuji. Yeah. And the pastime you have taken, how Mahaprabhu was in that the Gambhira room, and you divided that into 3 parts, and that was so nice. Prabhuji explained each part very nicely. When Krishna goes away, and the fear and the rati and everything was very nice. And the Jagannath Puri Mahaprabhu's mood, how it was like Radharani's, like it was like full moon and everything he was explaining. That was also the point which I liked, Prabhuji. And Mahaprabhu mood was like in Radharani mood when Uddhava came to Vrindavan. Those are all the moods you have explained very nicely, Prabhuji. We are so grateful for you. And again, I'm so thankful for you, Prabhuji. So do you have some time for the questions or realizations from the devotees, Prabhuji?
Sure, Mataji.
Thank you so much. So, and I request devotees, if anybody have any questions or realizations to Prabhuji, you can please go ahead. And also one more point, the bhajans were very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for sharing those. Varun Mitra Prabhuji, you can please go ahead. I'll unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prajit Ram. Thank you for the wonderful class given by you. I would like the thing that Gambhira word, that first time I heard this detailed thing about Gambhira. And thank you so much about sharing the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he come into Radharani's mood and the loving separation. And the thing was, Praji, I had one question that you said that we have to go into the depth of the shloka. We should dive. We have to learn to dive into the depth of the shlokas. So basically, how to do that? So later on, you said that means to dive. Basically, you have to means basically how to dive. Otherwise, while reading some shloka, we might read it for sake of reading, and we might read it from just external point of view. But how to dive deep inside that shloka, that what is the mood of the shloka, what the spiritual means, what that Acharya is trying to say in that shloka, and what is the mood.
Yeah. So you mentioned how can we actually dive into the actual depth of the shloka. First off, again, like at the end I mentioned, you need to know that each word in the Bhagavatam is dripped Prema Varshyaksharaate. It's dripped in Prema. And it's also mentioned that Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhu Sarvashraya Prati Shloke Prati Akshare Nana Artakaya. That there's each shloka and each syllable, each word has unlimited amount of meanings. Of course, we cannot concoct these meanings by ourselves. So when we are diving in, first, what I at least try to personally practice is a level of gratitude while reading these shlokas and personalize it, like I was saying today. You know, knowing that, oh, this shloka has the ability to change my life. You know, that's the first thing, that this shloka has the ability to change my life. And what will I take away from this shloka today? That's one thing that really leaves that desire. It increases the lolium, the desire to want to learn that shloka or understand that shloka. And of course, to understand it, there's so many devotees who comment on these shlokas. You know, like we have Srila Prabhupada's intensive commentary on the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya Caritamrita. And Prabhupada said that those are his ecstasies, you know. So ecstasy is not a very casual word to use, that, oh, I'm very ecstatic, which we are in Kirtan, but to say that, oh, these are my ecstasies, that's Prabhupada's heart that he's put in pen and paper. So if we, with gratitude, approach these shlokas, you know, and approach the commentaries of our previous acharyas with guidance, then we can really understand the meaning of these shlokas. It's actually becomes so easy. It becomes so easy. You know, like sometimes I also hear Amarendra Prabhu, you know, he's explaining a particular shloka he picks up. By the end of his class, you memorize the shloka because he's expressed each and every word so eloquently that it's it's already, like, what's it called, settled in your being. So that's one way to do it. Yeah.
Yes, so Prabhuji, that the next question is regarding that only, that gratitude, you said that we have to develop that gratitude, that this shloka is for me. This Krishna Das Kaviraj, you at last you said that this Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has written it for me. For me, it has written. So that gratitude we have to develop, right? So how will that gratitude come to us, and how we can develop that?
So gratitude comes by understanding what we're going to get and what they're giving, actually. What are they giving? If you don't understand the value of the thing they're giving you, gratitude won't come. You know, like sometimes we're casual with our parents, not knowing what they're giving us. And then sometimes when they're gone, then we're like, oh, they did so much for me, so much for me. You know? So same thing with, in such situations, we need to understand what we're getting, which is the highest form of prema. And if we understand this, gratitude will generate by itself. You know, it's a process of informing yourself about what the situation is. You know? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mahaprabhu. I hope that was satisfactory.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful answers. So now I request any other devotees, if they have any other questions, you can please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you so much for such a, I need to listen to it. I need to listen to it again to meditate upon it. Such a wonderful class, so grateful. It was, as everybody else said, it is really, really wonderful for me, though I got stuck with the gratitude part of it. And it was the most beautiful part of for me, because till I came to Krishna consciousness, I come from a Bengali background, and I studied in Bengali medium. So my base was Bengali, and I was so upset with my parents. Why did I have to go to a Bengali school and not an English medium school? Till I read Caitanya Caritamrita, I mean, some of it, whatever, and as it is in Bengali script. And I that day I felt gratitude for Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami and my parents. You know, my anger for 34 years got subdued the day I read Caitanya Caritamrita in Bengali. And so that was my, you know, so it means so much to me, and reading it in the same language that it was written is another nectar in itself. I mean, I'm no way demeaning the translation or saying things, but just reading it and, you know, hearing it and just getting it without the translation is something I find very, very soothing to me. So yes, probably being grateful is something, yes, definitely it really helps. And as you said, I took that point that, you know, it can transform if we think, we keep the mood for each and every shloka. What can I learn and how can it change my life today? So thank you so much again and again, and obeisances at your lotus feet. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And Radharani Mataji, I'm sorry, but I would have to cut this short. My spiritual master is calling me.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Service calls. I need to run. But it was a great pleasure to be with all of y'all today. and I'm looking forward for many more such moments to associate with all of you.